Good evening, everybody. This is the one and only African superstar. How are you guys? Yes. Um, Big shout out to the African superstar family. I have been getting over a cold, so still trying to do that here, but decided to definitely get my live stream on today. We've also been having problems with the high-speed internet. Yes, when I traveled, apparently one of the cables something happened and it had to be I had to have the technicians come out. So anyway, we got everything done. So we're ready to rock. We're ready to rumble. And I want to go ahead and get onto this topic. Again, special shout out to the African superstar family. Guys, I want to let you know going into 2025, we have a new model, which is say less, do more. And I want all of you guys to be on that. I'm definitely on that. I intend to be releasing a lot of music this year. So I do want to ask for your fiscal support on this channel to help me do that, obviously, because I'm investing a lot in the music, studio time, beats, and I really, really, really need to invest in the visuals. Visuals are very, very important. Also performing. So, I got to come to those of you that are loving the music and patronizing the music and let you know the need. If you feel so inclined, please make sure you send some support down here. It's scrolling across the bottom. You can also send super chats, PayPal, Cash App, Zelle, whatever, towards the music project. Okay, I want to get into this topic. This topic actually came as a result of a phone call I had with a very good friend of mine the other day. And it is a very complex topic, and I want to talk about this, which is where exactly does the diaspora belong? We have such a splintered community. Um, Unfortunately, there is no code across the globe where Black people have kind of like the same perspectives. I mean, you talk to someone here on the continent, their perspective is different than someone raised in America whose perspective is different than a Caribbean person or a European. And it's just so complicated. But I want to talk about this to help some of you guys that are maybe struggling with this, struggling with that sense of belonging. It's something that a lot of diasporian people deal with, because we don't feel like we belong in our Western environment. We've been made to feel rejected there or like a stranger there or whatever. And then oftentimes we decide, okay, you know what? I'm going to go back to the motherland. I'm going to go back to my country of origin. If your family's like from the Caribbean or whatever, I'm going to go back to wherever. And when you get there, you're also met with not the reception that you want. So today I'm going to talk about it. Big shout out to the African superstar family. Guys, if you're in the building, make sure you get in the chat room. Okay, make sure you like the stream. Today's topic is where does the diaspora belong? The truth is, guys, if you are from the Western world, if you are not like a first generation immigrant, okay, so like I'd say maybe first or second. So your family moved from Mexico to America. Your family moved from Ghana to the UK. Your family moved from, Senegal to France. You're able to trace that history. For many Black British, for many Black Americans, the history has gotten to the point where you may not necessarily know the details of your origins beyond maybe your parents, your grandparents, your great grandparents. You're not able to really trace that line back. Okay. And so, like I talked about, there's this paradox where, you grow up in America and obviously, America's not a friendly place to Black people. And obviously, in my opinion, our derivatives come from the motherland, but there's even people among our community that will debate that. No, I'm Native American. No, I'm indigenous, all of this stuff. The truth is, guys, where we grow up is not actually our home. I mean, theoretically it is because we're born there. We in just the culture, the education, the accents, but at the end of the day, our roots come from elsewhere. And it actually couldn't be any more obvious, because that's why we receive what we receive in those environments, is because, our roots do not go back to that land. At some point, you get into it and you're going to find out that, yes, at some point our people came from somewhere else and settled in America, Canada, UK. It's a fact. These are not our indigenous homelands. Okay. That's why people that share our DNA to this day, most of the times, is connected to the motherland. When you are a product of the diaspora, the powerful and beautiful part about it is that you belong where you choose to belong. That's the beautiful part of it. So let's say you do these DNA tests or whatever. I've never done one. I mean, I'm not going to knock any of you guys that do them. Maybe for some of you, it gives you some kind of information or some kind of whatever. It's okay. But let's say you do this DNA test, all right? And it comes back with, lineage in maybe 5 different countries. Okay? Theoretically, you have a connection to 5 different countries. If you decide to go settle in 1 or 2 or 3 or move around, that is your prerogative. When you are a member of the diaspora, that is your prerogative. Some people ask me, for instance, okay, well, if you have Cameroon in your family, you have Bermudian in your family, why are you not in those locations? Because for me, as an African, the whole continent is my option. Okay? The Western world is also an option for me because, yes, I was born and raised in Columbus, Ohio. I can choose where suits me the most. Now, that deep sense of belonging that people that are a part of, that are actually born and raised and socialized in these homogeneous environments, the reality, guys, is that we are not going to experience that. I mean, I don't care if you spend the next 10, 15, 20 years of your life immersing yourself in this country or whatever, learning the language, maybe even marrying a local. You're always going to have that foreignness to you because that is a part of you. And during your foundational years, wherever you grew up, those are some of the most critical years in terms of your development, in terms of your speech, in terms of your perspective. They say between ages 1 and 6, so much of your personality and character and all of that is experienced, which is why people that experience things, both positive and negative, during that portion of their life, it tends to, just ruminate through the rest of their life and their adulthood and everything. What you need to know is that sense of belonging. Okay, this is part of SMP. Shout out to the family. We don't have anybody in the chat room yet, so we need to get that popping. So I'll start with the trivia question. Who knows our mission statement? Not just I'll give you the initials, but what they mean. SMP. Okay, who knows it? Go ahead and pop it in the chat room. Big shout out to the family. What's up, Michael? I see you there. Michael's the first in the chat room. Big shout outs to Michael. Who knows what the mission statement means? That's the first trivia question. You guys should know. I really hope you know, especially if you've been here on the channel for a minute. Okay? When this topic comes up, a lot of members from the diaspora, especially Black Americans, are particularly emotional about this. Oh, I go to Africa and, they call me in Ghana, there's a word, Obroni. In, East Africa, there's a Swahili word, Mzungu. In Nigeria, there's a Yoruba word, Oyimbo. And these words mean foreigner or white or sometimes, interchangeable or whatever. the reality is, guys, we are not born in Africa. Okay, most of the people on my channel, obviously, I do have continentals, I do have migrants and all of that. For the Western born blacks, we were not born in Africa. You know, no matter how we go and try to integrate, there's always going to be that limitation of how far we're going to be able to assimilate it. All right. And unfortunately, nobody knows what our mission statement is. This is very pitiful. I'm so sorry about this. Let me go ahead and put it in. Okay. The mission statement of this channel, which we literally talk about like nearly every episode. Okay. Which I'm having to put it in because no one knows. But hey, this is my channel, so why not? Strategy, maturity, and patience. That is the mission statement of this channel. All right. For short, SMP. All right. Understanding that as a member of the diaspora who is not born and raised wherever you may have gone to settle, you know, there's a limitation to how integrated you will ever be, even with your maximum efforts. Okay, you'll always be seen as that British guy, that American. You know, I remember when I went to Puerto Rico. I went to San Juan. I love San Juan. Been there a couple times. And I remember that I was out and about, and the people were telling me about this gringo, okay, which gringo is a Spanish word for, I think it either means white person or foreign person or whatever, okay. So there were some Puerto Ricans that were telling me about this gringo, you know, that lived there. And apparently the gringo had been living in Puerto Rico for 20 years. Okay. But his name and the identifying name of him was still gringo. Okay. You could probably expect this phenomenon in any foreign country that you go to, you know, with the exception that maybe your parents have been really immersing you in the culture. So for instance, if you're a Ghanaian born and raised in America, your parents made sure you went back to Ghana. They made sure you learned the languages. They kept you very immersed in what was going on in Ghana and all of that. But even for those people, they are also still seen to be foreign. They may, for instance, appear Nigerian or appear Ghanaian, but when the people start conversing with them or getting a little bit closer, they will see, oh, wow, this is a foreign Ghanaian. This is a foreign Nigerian. This is a foreign Kenyan. You know, what I would love to see from my channel is obviously the mission statement right here. Okay. Understanding this. Strategy, maturity, and patience. You don't need to get all bent out of shape because you go to Ghana and they see you as American. Are you not? Is that not where you have literally spent the majority of your life? Is that not what your accent indicates? Is that not where you hold a passport? Is that not where you did your entire education? You know, yes, they're going to see you as a British. Yes, they're going to see you as a Black American. Yes, because it's the truth. It's who you are. It's an element of you. You know, now I think because of the huge rejection that we experience in the Western world, this is so important, you know, in terms of that sense of belonging. But what I also want to tell you is that you can alleviate some of this hardship from the future generations by planting them in certain places. So if, for instance, you love and are passionate about Africa, okay, and you want maybe your kids, you don't want your kids to feel this sensation that you went through growing up in America and feeling like a foreigner and feeling like you didn't belong and being told to go back to Africa if you didn't like this, you didn't like that. Go ahead and produce some offspring and raise them up on the continent. Guess what? Your child is never going to go through that. Your child's never going to know what that's like. Okay, they're going to be able to identify as the, you know, the African nation that they are raised in or wherever they are. You know, even if you decide to go somewhere in Europe or in Asia. I mean, obviously, because of the homogeneous community in Asia, even if a Black person is born and raised in Singapore or born and raised in Japan, you know, they're still they're still going to see you as a foreigner because obviously you're not Japanese or Singaporean or whatever. You know, I think in some cases we need to focus on the bigger picture. The reality is, yes, we are going to be seen as foreigners in places outside of the place that we have born and, you know, been born, raised, and spent the majority of our life. Doesn't mean we can't have a successful transition. No, it doesn't mean that. Doesn't mean that we cannot, you know, integrate well to a point. You can integrate well to a point. But our mission statement lets us know that there's a limit to how far we're going to be able to integrate in our new home. And we should always be mindful of that. But that should not be the deterrent to why we are there. Because in the reality, even the countries that we're born and raised in, we also face rejection in those places. So it makes you feel like, well, where exactly do I belong? I feel like, personally, I feel like a global citizen. Okay, I was talking about the DNA test a little earlier. I've never done a DNA test. I'm settled in Ghana because this is where the juice is. Out of all my travels, this is where I get the most love, the most reception. This is where I have been successful and productive and creative. This place has been better, you know, better for my mental well-being, my health, my social life. You know what I mean? That's why I choose Ghana. Does it matter to me if the DNA report says that I have Ghanaian DNA? No, it doesn't. You know, just because you have a DNA report and it connects you to various countries, don't also be limited by that. Our people function a lot of times with a very limited mindset. Okay. And I've talked to you guys before about, for instance, rich people. Rich people thrive on their ability to have options. Okay. They don't put themselves in a box. Okay. They don't say, oh, I can only do this and I can only do that and I can only live here and I can. No, you go where you are wanted. You go where you have the most success. Even some of you guys have come to the continent and you had intentions of settling in Tanzania. You had intentions of settling in Kenya or Senegal. You got to these countries and you were like, I don't really know about these vibes. You know what I mean? And then you reshifted and you went to Rwanda. You said, oh, I love Rwanda. You came to Ghana, or you know, it's working out for you in Nigeria. It's working for you in South Africa. There are plenty of people here on YouTube that is their story. You know, you are a member of the diaspora. Okay. You can go anywhere. You can be anywhere. But the truth is you're not going to belong anywhere. That's the truth. You're always going to be the apple among oranges. You can be the most lit apple. You know what I'm saying? You can even be like a gradient apple where you're starting to turn a bit orange, but you're always going to be an apple. A zebra never changes its stripes, guys. And that's why this conversation is for you. You know, our mission statement here says strategy, maturity, and patience. Okay. Strategy, figuring out what you're going to do before, during, and continued. Maturity is what's really missing from a lot of people's equations in these days. Okay, because maturity tells you, hey, I'm an apple and a bunch of oranges. In America, I'm black. Okay, in America, I'm black like this. This is my complexion in America. Okay, nobody will ever question that I'm a Black American woman or whatever in America. When I lived in England, I was seen to be Caribbean. I was seen to be Jamaican. A lot of people saw me that way. Across the continent, I could be seen to be mixed race. You know, it fluctuates. I mean, when I went to Miami, they've asked me if I was Puerto Rican. They've asked me if I was Dominican. You know, it is what it is, guys. That's part of this ambiguous product that comes from mixing, you see? Okay, and when you actually visit homogeneous environments, you realize how evident it is that you are a product of a mixed situation. Because when you go to China, all the people look Chinese. Okay, in a place like China, a Black and Chinese person going to be immediately identifiable. There's not going to be any questions that that Chinese person has been mixed with someone other than another Chinese. It's the same thing here in Africa. You see, various tribes and whatnot, they have certain features. They have certain genetics. They have certain characteristics. Like if you're here in Ghana, big shout out to Michael Penn. He says it's important to travel first because each African, I think he meant African country, is different, which is what I have been promoting you guys to do for ages. But if you're here in Ghana, for instance, all right, there are several different tribes here in Ghana. Shout outs if we have any of my Ghana foe in the building. You can, second trivia question, what are some of the tribes in Ghana? Do any of you guys know some of the tribes, some of the popular tribes, or some of the well-known tribes? Huh? Let me see in the chat room. We have any Ghanaians in the building? Please, guys, don't do me like this. Don't do me like this, because we got just a couple people in the chat room. We got 15 watching. Please be a part of the conversation today. What's up, Tuco? I see you there. Big shout outs to you. Big shout outs to Knowledge Seeker in the building. Michael Jackson is with us. Yes. Hi, Michael. All right. Thank you, Kathy. Kathy's brought up some very, well-known tribes here. We have the Akan, we have the Fantis, we have the Ga, we have the Gomba from the north, we have the Aways, we have the Kwapim. I mean, there's a lot of tribes here in Ghana, actually. But once you get here, you will start to see some of these characteristics. Okay, Northerners tend to be very, very tall, big. Okay, the people from like Tamale and Contempo and all these areas. Okay, then you have the Fancies, which they are in Takoradi. Some of them are in Cape Coast. You have the Akans. You have the Ashanti tribe, which is a lot of them are in Kumasi. So as you get into the environment, you're going to be able to see some of these genetics and characteristics that are very heavily associated with those tribes. Same thing in Nigeria. Two of the very large tribes in Nigeria is the Igbos and Yorubas. Okay. You can look at names and tell, okay, Emeka, that's an Igbo name. Chuka, that's an Igbo name. Olu and Ola, these are some Yoruba names. So what that means is when we come in from the Western world, okay, we don't have all those identifiers sometimes. Now, obviously, if you are the product of migrants, you might have the surname. Okay, so people are going to see your surname and they're going to know, okay, this tribe, this tribe, this tribe, this tribe, this tribe. I'm associated with the Aways because of my surname, Ifoe. Ifoe is very similar to an Awe name. So when people see my name here in Ghana, a lot of people assume that I'm part of the Awe tribe. Now, in the Aways, they also happen to be fair-skinned. Okay, because you do have tribes that have fair people and dark people, short people, tall people, fat people. Although there's anomalies in various things, the reason why these characteristics are associated with the tribe is because they've been procreating with each other and they have not been procreating with outsiders, foreigners, non-Black people, maybe not even other tribes. So they're able to preserve those characteristics within each other. What we have to understand as Westerners is when we come into the scene, we're automatically identifiable that we are not, we don't have those things. Now, we might look similar and all of that, but obviously, if you are a product of a mixed heritage and you are in an environment where the society is largely homogeneous, you are going to stick out. You're going to stand out. Okay. So this is another pro tip. Okay. Big shout outs. Kathy is a Ghanaian. Big shout. May I say pa. Mendafu pa. I appreciate you for that support, sweetheart. Big shout outs to Amina. Amina says cleaning the kitchen. Ashanti Dagban. Anyway, big shout outs to all my Ghana travelers, Ghana folk people representing. Big shout outs to you guys in the building. Okay. This is why what Michael Penn has said is so critical. Okay. You can alleviate some of this cultural ignorance, basically, by trying to pinpoint a place where you can integrate to the best ability possible. Okay. Now, I sometimes see those folks in the Sudan. All right. I sometimes see those folks in the Sudan. One of the characteristics of Sudan, not just Sudan, but Mali, some of these countries, is a lot of the people are very, very, very dark. A lot of them, some of them are very slim. Some of them are very tall. This is where a lot of those supermodels come from, like Alek Wek and all of this stuff. Now, let's just be real, guys. A person like me going to the Sudan, immediately picture me also like in Saudi Arabia. Picture me in China. Picture me in Sweden. Now, obviously, yes, there's black people in all of those non-African countries I just mentioned. But if you just envision me in any of those different countries, you can envision me really standing out, right? So even when I went to Kenya, I felt so big in Kenya. I went to Nairobi City with African Tigress, and I literally towered over the women there. Some of them are very slim, very petite. Even some of the men were a bit shorter, very slim, slim kind of guys. And I was like, man, I really felt that I really stood out in terms of, appearance wise, physique. All right. Now, shout outs. How many people we have here that's been to West Africa? If you've been to West Africa, let me see a number one. You've been to Togo, Benin. You've been to Ghana. You've been to Nigeria. You've been to any of those countries, the whole West Africa. Okay. One thing that is prominent over here is big physiques. Buxom women, tall, macho men, muscular men, bigger people over here in West Africa. All right. So, I looked at these factors. Big shout outs. Queen B has now come to settle in Ghana. Big shout outs to Queen B. We got all of our Ghanaians, Ghanaian residents, Ghanaian citizen, Ghana folk, everybody in the building. Big shout outs to those of you guys in the building. I feel very comfortable here in Ghana in terms of I don't immediately stand out in Ghana. I just told you that it's assumed, and it has been assumed, and this is actually some of the backstory to how I overall integrated into the Ghanaian community was because of my name. My name would start the conversation of, oh, are you Ewe? And then, I was very curious about that. Like, okay, there's a similarity here or something like that. And it just happened that some of the fair-skinned women, the lighter women and stuff, they come from the Volta region, which is where a lot of the Ewes are from. And so that is how, I began to kind of associate with Ghana was because it was assumed that I was a Ghanaian. So I tell you guys all this stuff to say that, number one, okay, when you are a member of the diaspora and you are venturing beyond the country that you were born and raised, you are not indigenous to any of those other countries. And for the most part, the community that you're in is always going to see you as an associate of wherever you come from. Number one. Okay. Number two, you have the right and capability to go anywhere. But number three, if you're smart, okay, you're going to try to find a good fit for yourself based off of what's important for you and the needs that you are trying to achieve during your move. Okay. You don't need to feel rejected because people have acknowledged the truth of who you are. Okay, if you come to Africa and the continental African says, you're not African, you're from America. Okay, they're not necessarily saying that to be harmful to you. And I've actually to date never heard of any continental saying, hey, we don't want you here, go back to America. We don't like Black Americans. We don't, the reception that I have personally received and what I've seen from others that come here is overall welcoming. They actually acknowledge us as an extension of, they say you're welcome in the motherland. You're our brothers and sisters, but at the end of the day, we are very culturally different. And we may also share different ideologies, different appearance, and that's what it is. But that doesn't mean that you can't have success living here on the continent. And it doesn't mean that you have to just be relegated to the place where you live, because the whole reason you want to leave that place is because you have a laundry list of reasons you want to leave that place. So if you felt completely happy and settled and, you had this sense of belonging in America or England, you would have never wanted to leave. You would have never wanted to leave France or Canada or Australia. That's just the truth. Big shout outs to the family. Where does the diaspora belong? You belong wherever you want to be at, guys. But again, pro tip, if you're smart, you're going to pick a place where you're going to give yourself the maximum amount of integration possible. Although knowing that you will never fully be integrated. Even people can, even if you speak the local language. So let's say you speak Tree, which is one of the, prominent languages here in Ghana, or you speak Ga, you speak Fanti, you speak Dagbani from the north. Even as a foreigner, they can still hear the pronunciation. It's just like if a French person is speaking English. Okay, they're still going to have that French accent. They're still going to pronounce certain words a certain way. So even if you happen to get fluent in the language, the difference will still be there, guys. You cannot eliminate something that exists. Nor should you want to be. What you should do is look at your life abroad as a new chapter of your book. Okay, it doesn't mean you're trying to erase your roots, growing up in the Western world, but you're trying to add a new chapter. You're trying to reacclimate yourself to a place that you have a sense of belonging, or you want to be more knowledgeable on, or maybe you want to expose your children to, or maybe you want to be a leader, you want to be a pioneer, you want to be a beacon of hope to other people, and by encouraging them to travel, get out of that bubble that we live in. Let's exercise the mission statement, guys. Let's exercise the mission statement in everything that we do. Okay? This whole, movement is historic. I mean, there's never been a time when a large amount of Western-born Blacks have been interested in frequenting and traveling and settling and migrating back to Africa. this journey is going to be filled with its bumps and bruises and ups and downs. But that's why we have the mission statement, because we can anticipate this stuff. Okay, you're unrealistic if you think you're going to go to a country that you don't know anything about, or maybe don't know many people there. You don't know the local language, you don't know the cultural norms, and that everybody's going to see you like a local. You're crazy. Okay, in terms of America, it's like a New Yorker coming to Ohio. You know, it's like somebody from Alaska moving to LA. Okay, it's like somebody from Hawaii going to New York City. Okay, it will take time until you're able to acclimate yourself to your new environment. And don't be hard on yourself about it. And don't be so emotional when people are saying to you, oh, you're not an African, you're a Black American. Because in their concept, anybody who's born in America, anybody who's born in England, anybody who's born in Germany, that's who they are. They don't know anything until they travel, you know, until they maybe get an experience. It's very difficult for them to understand that there are tiers to citizenship. Because here in Ghana, there's no tiers to citizenship. If you're born here, your family's Ghanaian, and you live here, you're considered a Ghanaian. You know, unless you're like a Lebanese or a Chinese or white or whatever. But if you are a Black African person born in Ghana to Ghanaian parents, okay, speak the language, spent your whole life here, you're a Ghanaian. Okay, no size, as we say here, no size. So, you know, the fact that, okay, there's white Americans, there's Black Americans, there's immigrants, there's people, you know, there's all this depth as to what is an American and who is a British. That's something that homogeneous people, or at least people here in Africa, that whole concept is missing. So when they are saying it to you, a lot of times, it's definitely not malicious. It's just factual. You're not African, you're American. In their book, you would be proud to be an American. You know, living in the Western world, you're rich. It's a status symbol here. So in their mind, why wouldn't you want to be called an American? Why would you want to be classified as an African when you could be a British or whatever? You know, that's their innocent perspective in that measure. But obviously, with all the emotion that we're coming with, a lot of times it's taken as an insult. It's taken as an offense, you know. Oh, they've said I'm not African, I don't belong here. You know, that's your translation of what they are saying. You know, when they say you're not an African, you're an American. You know, but again, if you look at it, okay, if you look at all the determining factors, okay, unfortunately, you align more with an American than you do with an African. You're here, you don't have family here, you don't know the languages, you don't know the cultural norms, you don't know the demographics. You know what I mean? You literally just dropped. So obviously, all your characteristics, most of your characteristics, unless you've taken initiatives to immerse yourself a bit, they're going to go with your Western environment, period. You know, so I wanted to do this video because I don't want you guys to get discouraged, you know, on your journey because you feel like you don't belong here and you don't belong there. You belong anywhere you want to be. It's up to you. You know, even if you decide you want to go be in China because you feel like, yeah, I like Chinese food, you know, I belong here. This is my home. Okay, well then give it a go. You know what I mean? The Chinese are never going to see you as a Chinese, even if you marry one and have Chinese and Black kids, you know. But if you want to give it a go ahead and give it a go. You know, at least here in Africa, depending on where you might settle, appearance-wise, you might actually blend in a little bit in that environment. So you would not immediately be recognized as a foreigner based off of appearance, which is what you're going to have to deal with in most foreign countries because they don't have black majorities, you know. So play up on your strong suits, guys. Play up on your advantages, you know. Play up on your strengths, not your weaknesses. Now, and again, by all means, maybe you need to recalibrate. Maybe you thought, okay, I'm going to move to Morocco. And you get there and you're like, ooh, I'm not Muslim. I'm not with this whole Arabic, you know, lifestyle. I'm not with this culture. I'm not with this language. I don't like this food, or I don't like this weather. Then go ahead and recalibrate. Me personally, I don't think I would enjoy any other place in West Africa because the demographics, you know, again, the people, I can blend in, fit in with the people, number one. Number two, the weather, you know, great sunny weather all year round. You'd be surprised to know that the other regions have temperate weather. You know, it even gets cold in Egypt, which I was shocked until I traveled there and found that they have heaters in the hotel rooms because it gets so chilly at night, you know, due to the desert, I guess. Kenya also has, you know, moderate weather sometimes. The people be wearing coats and it gets pretty chilly at night in Kenya as well. It even snowed in South Africa this year, you know. So ain't nobody got time for that. I'm in West Africa. This is my zone. It works for me. It might not work for you. That's okay. Okay. But do your due diligence in wherever you're going. You know, now I know when I went to South Africa, though, they were speaking that closer to me. So I know in terms of appearance wise, you know, I definitely could probably, I mean, the ladies are really buxom. I mean, if you guys have seen me in real life, you know, I'm a bit curvy and all that stuff. So the South African ladies, they got, you know, similar bodies to me. A lot of them have similar complexions to me and stuff like that. So, you know, I could probably blend in that way, but a lot of the other politics is what prohibits me from South Africa, for instance. But it might be your vibe. You know, it might be your vibe, you know. But again, even if you go somewhere and you have that element covered where you fit in physically, there's a lot of areas where it's going to be obvious that you are a foreigner. and again, it's okay, guys. It's okay. It's okay. All right. Big shout out to the African Superstar family. We have 26 of you here. Definitely not in the chat room. I don't know. Make sure hit the likes. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, moving into 2025, I'm really trying to kick it up with the music. So I will be asking for support from the channel. You guys are able to sow a seed, whatnot. I have some pretty big projects coming up. I spoke to an AI editor to help me create some like really dynamic artistic videos. And obviously it's not free. Yes. So I would love to, you know, do some of those projects and bring them to the channel to also promote the music. Yes. So please be a part of what we're doing. Be a part of the African Superstar. Be a part of the growth and the expansion of the brand and the music. You know, a lot of you guys have been with me for years now, and I appreciate all the support, but, you know, it's always something. I'm an ambitious person, so we're always trying to take it up a notch and expand it, all of that, family. If you watch the playback and you have, you know, leave your comments down there. Big shout outs, whatever. All right, let me see. There's a couple comments. Multi-generational mulatto says the African diaspora belongs anywhere we choose to live. When Asians come to Africa, they don't ask if they belong. They take, you know, that's what I said. I mean, I didn't say obviously this verbatim, but I said when you're a member of the diaspora, that means you can be anywhere. You know, some of you guys have been doing that, you know, those DNA tests, and you you feel like, okay, I've got this much percentage Nigerian, I've got this much percentage from Benin, I've got this from Sierra Leone. So these are the countries I need to work with. You can travel to those countries. They may or may not work for you, but don't be limited. And again, maybe your first wish is, I love Kenya. I want to be in Kenya. You get out there and you're like, you know what? Somehow I'm having a difficult time. Somehow, I'm not feeling it. Just continue on with your travels, guys. You're a member of the diaspora. You can be anywhere. It basically means when you're a part of the diaspora, okay, whether or not you accept it or not, it means that you have ties to Africa. Okay, that's what it means. And effectively, our people have been dispersed around the world, which is what has happened. Okay, because there's Black people in every land, basically. And we create all these subcultures and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, it means that our roots tie us back to this Africa, which means we can be anywhere on this continent. And technically, we belong if that's our decision. I feel that I belong in Ghana. I feel like there's no other place for me that I've so far traveled that can offer me what I'm enjoying here in Ghana, And so for me, it is beyond a shadow of a doubt that I am in the place I want to be. Somebody asked me that not too long ago. Well, Gina, how long are you going to stay in Ghana? Do you have intentions of... I told them, for the foreseeable future, there's just no other place that I have been to that I love to that degree, that I feel like, it's for me. So I'm just going to be where I'm at. But again, I did tour a bit before I came here. I went to 5 other African countries. I went to different regions of the continent and experienced them a bit. And although all of them were nice, I didn't have any negative experiences in any of the other countries I visited. At the end of the day, I still just preferred Ghana, Big shout outs. What's up? Queen B says it's been 2 years and she's still acclimating. Okay, she's here in Ghana. So, and again, moving is a transition, guys. We've been watching too much Hollywood. So at the end of the hour, we're supposed to be happily married, settled in, speaking the language, got a business going, everything's working. In real life, it doesn't work like that. If you guys think about your journey wherever you grew up in, it took you years, decades to get your education, maybe buy, your house or get a car, or, it took you years to build friendships. Now you've been in your African nation for 1 year and you feel discouraged because you don't have all your roots down. Bro, it's going to take time. Now, again, however much you are willing to try to acclimate is up to you. Now, certainly, I think the more effort you make, the more comfortable you will be, because you won't feel as disconnected and you won't feel as unfamiliar and all of that stuff. And obviously, if you have your friends and family abroad, you can always still visit them. You can still keep in touch with them if that would help you. I know some people, that's a big struggle. They really miss their family. They really, they have tight-knit families. Living abroad is difficult for them. Well, then travel, And I would tell you guys, listen, migration is not for the cheap. Okay, migration is not for the cheap. You need to count up the costs to be the boss. Because when you decide to move away, it's very unlikely that all your friends and family are going to come visit you in your foreign location. Let's be real. They wouldn't even sometimes come across town or across state lines to visit you when you were closer to them. Much less are they going to get visas and take weeks off of work or whatever and come be with you in a foreign country. Okay. So that means, unfortunately, the ball's in your court if you want to maintain a lot of these relationships. Okay. You need to anticipate maybe traveling to visit your family and friends. If you are a big family and friends person, That's what you need to do. Duh. And again, if you're broke, it's going to be really hard for you to maintain. If you got just enough money to get your one-way ticket over here to Ghana, it's not advisable. Okay, it's not advisable. And let's take lessons from things that we're seeing going on around the world. When you are living in a foreign country, reminding yourself and remembering that, yes, I am a foreigner, no matter how much I love Nigeria, no matter how much I love Cote d'Ivoire, no matter how much I love Mozambique, wherever you're settling, you always need a little bit of move around money. Look what happened in Ukraine and Russia. Okay, you're in the country, maybe going to school. There was a lot of students there, a lot of African students there. Now these mofos decide to go to war. Huh? Now, obviously, we don't plan to be in any country that goes to war, but we don't know what the hell these countries are going to do, especially the Western world. There are some conflicts here going on in Africa as well. Sudan, South Sudan, the Congo, Cameroon. You know, some of these countries are experiencing instability. You don't never know what can happen, guys. You got to calculate all this stuff when you move abroad. Okay, please. All right. Make sure you do it well. Even if it means, okay, I'm going to go to the US for the summer times. I'm going to go to the UK, around Christmas time and get a little holiday job, or I'm going to whatever. Just make sure you build in contingency plans because you don't know what the hell's going on. All right. Big shout outs to the family. Michael Pan says it is important to know the local language. I'm not saying that everybody needs to be fluent. I would totally agree. I mean, especially if you're concerned about people taking advantage of you, cheating you, charging you over, and all this stuff. Some of this can be alleviated by knowing the local language, or at least greetings and basics. This is something Americans are very poor at. They feel like they don't need to learn local languages. They feel like everybody just needs to speak English to them and that they don't need to. It's going to come at your own disadvantage, okay? If you go to a country and you don't know their language and you ain't trying to learn it, okay? Yes, it's going to make you feel like a foreigner because guess what? They all know the local language, so they're all going to be talking it. And you might feel like, oh, they're talking about me. No, they're just talking their local language, okay, in their country of origin. That's up to you. This is part of your migration, okay? Remember, you didn't move by force, okay? Nobody siphoned you to Ghana. Nobody told you, okay, it's go to Senegal or die. Nobody. You made that independent decision. The burden of proof is on you in a lot of these things. That's just the truth. If you refuse to do some of this stuff, then it could possibly make your journey harder. From my experience, people are very helpful and whatnot, but obviously opportunists are all around the world. And if they feel like they can get over on you, they will try it. And if they feel like they can get over on you, they will do it if they can. You need to fortify yourself as much as possible to prevent some of these things from happening. Okay? Learn from other people around you. Learn from stories of things that have gone down. Shout out to the family. KBL says fo or EFO is short for fofo or fogan, which is short for fofogen. It is used to designate your big brother or your oldest among your big brothers. A spouse uses it to her husband. I don't know, because actually Ifoe is a Cameroonian name. And the names that are similar here in Ghana is Effie. And so it's spelled Effie, but obviously if you look at some of the Ewe names, it does look very similar. I don't actually know the meaning of it, but I was told that in Cameroon it means the middleman, basically, like a kind of a unifier is what it's supposed to mean. So I don't know, but yeah. Michael Penn says, I understand that some brothers and sisters have moved from America to Asia, Europe, and Latin America. How do you encourage them to move from Asia, Europe, and Latin America to the African continent? Well, that's a personal decision, Michael. You know, that's a personal decision for anybody to make. I just feel that in environments where Black majorities are, that you encounter less racism. And that's what I'm trying to get to. You know, and I think racism is just prevalent everywhere else in the world where we are not the majority. And so it just depends on a person's objectives, you know, what they want out of life and what's going to make them comfortable. Because obviously Africa is not for everyone, you know. So all I'm trying to do with my platform is share my journey and encourage people with like-minded goals. Okay, people that are interested in the continent. I'm not trying to evangelize nobody. Okay, you know, you make those decisions, but if you need or have questions or you want to know how it's going for someone who's living here, then I'm here in your corner. But you got to make those initial decisions. And obviously, traveling is important. Come and visit the continent before you make any kind of drastic moves, such as picking up and moving. I came to Ghana like several times before ever moving here. Obviously, I visited first in 2016 and I didn't come to settle until 2020. And I would say that I came in, I didn't come in 2017 because that was the year I moved to England, but I came in 2018. I came in 2019 twice. I came in 2020 once before I moved. So, you know, we're looking at 5-6 times I came to Ghana before I ever came and moved here. You know what I mean? I see people doing that all the time, and I'm like, I would never. But my hat's off to you. You know what I mean? I've traveled also to Kenya, Tanzania, Egypt, Nigeria, and South Africa. I can't imagine deciding, oh, I'm moving to Kenya and shipping all my stuff over there, buy the one-way ticket. I don't think I would enjoy living in Kenya. Nothing against Kenya, but it's just not really my vibe. And I don't like the weather and the food, and, you know, it's just not my vibe, you know? So, all right, family. Michael says, I understand that locals speak several languages on the African continent. They speak Arabic, French, Yoruba. I would recommend learning these languages first before moving. What you would need to do, which should be part of your basic research, is learning what languages are, prominent in where you want to be. Because I do also see some members of the diaspora in there, you know, trying to reconnect and try to be polite. Some of them will be trying to speak Swahili in Nigeria. And it's like Swahili comes from East Africa. You know what I mean? It's a totally different language than whatever they're speaking in Nigeria and Ghana. So, you know, figure it out. Or if you're going to a Francophone country, yes, learning French would be very powerful. You know, if you're going to North Africa, predominantly Arabic, or I'm sure they have different dialects and all that stuff in Northern Africa. You know, obviously learning the South African languages of where you're going to be living and things like this. And I mean, a lot of these countries, again, they do speak the language of their colonial masters. So, you know, you have Portuguese speaking countries here in Africa, you have Arabic speaking countries here in Africa, you have English speaking and French speaking. Figure out what they're speaking and verse yourself, or at least just, you know, acclimate yourself with what they are speaking in those areas. Is very, very good advice. Queen B says, learn the basics at least. It goes a long way for you in communicating with the facts. And then also, if you are going to be in the rural areas, okay, I don't advise that. Okay, I think probably for most diasporan people from the West, cities is probably going to be your best bet, because it's where most amenities are that you are accustomed to, you know. So you're used to Wi-Fi, you're used to you know, certain foods and whatever. You're used to Uber, and you know, you're used to English speakers or whatever. The cities, the more rural you get, the less foreign it is, and that means you're going to be with the locals, and if you can't navigate with the locals, that's going to be very hard for you. Now obviously some of you guys are into infrastructure, you know, you guys are getting into the building, and you guys are getting into the farming, and obviously some of that stuff is going to happen in the rural communities. But I think most diasporan cities is going to be your best bet to try to make your transition a bit smoother. You know, also like access to the airports, access to immigration. You know, here in Ghana, a lot of that stuff is centralized, which means if you live even outside of Accra, when you want to come and do your passport, when you want to go to the international airport, you're gonna have to come to Accra anyway. So I just think, you know, but that's my advice. Big shout outs to Queen B. All right, guys. Michael says, I understand that you moved from America to England and from England to Ghana. What was the experience like? Um, yeah, I mean, it was over several years. I moved from America to England in 2017, and then I moved to Ghana in 2020. Um, you know, fortunately for me, my migration story is pretty smooth. You know, I didn't have a lot of hiccups when I left America, and I haven't had a lot of hiccups when I left the UK. But again, I exercise the mission statement of this channel, which is strategy, maturity, and patience. So, you know, I put a lot of strategy and planning into both of my moves, and tried to, you know, prepare myself as best as possible. And I also frequented those locations. I came to England several times before I moved, went to Ghana several times before I moved. So I think that those two elements alone really helped my transition, because I wasn't kind of coming to an unfamiliar place, where when you are doing that, a lot of the cultural differences, it could be overwhelming for you. You know, it could be, I mean, I can't imagine maybe a person who's coming to Ghana who's literally never tried Ghanaian food, doesn't even know what the popular foods are. You know what I mean? Now, here in Accra, you can get some things that you're familiar with: pizza, burgers, KFC. You know, you can get some of these things, and they have some continental dishes at the restaurants, like rice, and, you know, some places have salads. But you know, again, moving outside of Accra, and you know, you've gone to settle in Takoradi, you've gone to settle in northern Ghana, you've gone to Tamale, you know, you've gone to eastern region or the Volta, or you've gone down to Kumasi, and you know, you're not going to have access to everything that you would have access to in the capital city. I just can't imagine, you know, the culture shock. You know, but some people are making it. You know, some people are doing it. Queen B says, I moved here sight unseen, but that was after 2.5 years of extensive research and networking. However, it still takes quite some time to acclimate once you are actually boots on ground. Facts. Big shout outs to the family. All right, guys, we're wrapping up now. If you have any other last minute comments, go ahead and pop them in the chat. Where does the diaspora belong? Wherever you want to be at. Okay, what's that that commercial, that old school commercial, Discover Card, wherever you want to be. You know, it's up to you. All right. Don't be discouraged because you feel foreign. You are foreign. Okay. If the local person is not saying, you know, get out of here, I hate you, I'm gonna attack you, I'm gonna kill you, you know, I'm gonna burn your house, I don't like you. If that's not the conversation you're having, you're not unwanted. Okay. If they simply say to you, you're a Black American, yeah, because all their cultural identifiers are telling them that, yeah, you're not from Ghana, you're not from Nigeria, you're not from Senegal, you are an American, you're a Black American. Okay. You don't have a direct parent. from the country you're living in. You don't have a grandparent that you're aware. You don't know the language. You don't know anything. You've picked up and decided to come settle there. And yeah, we share melanin, but most of the world is melanated. Huh? Most of the world is melanated nowadays. So you got Latinos that are melanated. You got Indians that are, melanated. You got Asians that's melanated. So, I mean, just the fact that we're melanated, does that make us African? We would think so. Like, okay, yeah, we definitely come from the motherland. Definitely that's where the start of all the melanin is. Okay, but I mean, at the same time, if an Indian person came to Africa, they wouldn't call him an African. He could be dark as the Ghanaian. Because I know y'all have seen an Indian. Some of them are dark as, if you've seen them for a distance. The only thing, the dead giveaway usually for them Indians is like the sandals, the smell, and the hair. But if you saw them from a distance, they're dark as darker than even me. I mean, obviously, I know I'm not the darkest girl on the totem pole, but I'm just saying. So, let's exercise the mission statement, guys. And let's start thinking with a broader spectrum. And like multi-generational mulatto said, you have relegation wherever you decide to go and plant yourself, but it's up to you. Your level of success here is up to you. It's up to you. All right. And again, if you are having such encounters with the people that they're really threatening to you, or they don't want you there, or then take heed and get out of that environment. I wouldn't promote you to be anywhere where people really don't want you there and they're trying to make you uncomfortable or something like that. But I mean, just be real about this experience. Okay, big shout outs. What's up, family? All right, last minute comments, let me read them. Queen B says, during my planning and preparing, I learned to cook some of the Ghanaian dishes while still in the States to get used to the foods, all except the peppers. See, Queen B is an example of, doing your due diligence, trying to get acclimated. You can just start with something that's going to an African restaurant, some of you guys, by the time you went to Mexico, you've ate plenty burritos, you've had plenty margaritas, you've had plenty tacos. So when you get to Mexico and they got them available, you know what time it is. Some of you guys have ate plenty spaghetti, pasta, pizza. So when you go to Italy, it's all good. Some of y'all ate plenty Chinese food, rice and sweet and sour and all this stuff. You done had hibachi chicken from the Japanese restaurant. So when you go to these countries, you have some familiarity. Although some of that food, they do obviously have the American version of these things. But yeah, go. Some of you guys, before you went to Jamaica, you always eating curry chicken and, red beans and rice and, or, just do a little bit goes a long way to help you have success on your journey. All right. GBL says, West Africa, once you step out of West Africa, good luck. I mean, for me, this is it. Excuse me. Yeah, this is it for me. I mean, I really just can't calculate. I just really can't calculate anywhere else that I really want to be like that. So yeah. Prince Ayoko, what's up? He says the diaspora belongs to the soil of Africa, our motherland. And Michael Penn says food brings people together and encourages them to explore different countries. Facts. Big shout out to the African Superstar family. We had A really good turnout of you guys today. Yes. I hope all of you stopped and liked the stream. I hope that it was encouraging to some of you people that struggle with this. You know, I don't fit in America, and I've gone to Africa and they've called me a Black American. They said I was a foreigner, and I just don't know where I belong. Listen, you belong where you want to be. Who's that? Donnell Jones, Where You Want to Be, that song. That's, you make that decision. You know, unfortunately, you're the product of mixing, you know, and this is the unfortunate part of mixing is not always being able to call one place your home or have direct ties to one place, you know. But again, it's up to you how you create that connection if you want to be. You know, you can create a strong connection to the place where you want to be. You can teach yourself all about it and learn the language and live among the locals as much as you can, you know, to get the experience. But, you know, again, an apple is not an orange, no matter how you try, you know, and please don't become a transgender orange, you know, going to great extents to just portray something at the end of the day you're not. You know, just be okay with who you are and be okay with your journey and be okay with your evolution. Okay, family? All right. Big shout out to the African Superstar family. Until we meet again, stay Black and true. If you ain't Black, just stay true.